Hey guys, welcome to Medifaction. So today we're going to learn about the physiology of homeostasis. Homeostasis is nothing but the tendency towards a relatively stable equilibrium between interdependent elements. So since this is very important in our day-to-day life, let's learn more about it. In this video, I am going to enumerate an introduction about homeostasis, followed by the role of various systems of the body in the homeostasis, and we will also discuss about the components of homeostatic system, and we will also learn the mechanism of action of homeostatic system, which are the negative feedback mechanism and positive feedback mechanism. So let's begin. Introduction. Homeostasis refers to the maintenance of constant internal environment of the body. The term homeo means same and stasis means standing. The word homeostasis was introduced by Harvard professor Walter B. Cannon in 1930. Internal environment in the body is the extracellular fluid in which the cells live. It is the fluid outside the cell and it constantly moves throughout the body. It includes blood, which circulates in the vascular system, and fluid present between the cells called interstitial fluids. Extracellular fluids contains nutrients, ions, and all other substances necessary for the survival of the cells. Normal healthy living of a large organism, including human beings, depends upon the constant maintenance of internal environment within the physiological limits. If the internal environment deviates beyond the set limits, body suffers from malfunction or dysfunction. Therefore, the ultimate goal of an organism is to have a normal, healthy living which is achieved by the maintenance of internal environment within set limits. Now, let's discuss about the role of various systems of the body in homeostasis. Number 1. The pH of the extracellular fluid has to be maintained at the critical value of 7.4. The tissues cannot survive if it is altered. Thus, the decrease in pH, that is acidosis, or increase in pH, alkalosis, affects the tissues markedly. The respiratory system, blood, and kidney help in the regulation of pH. Number 2. Body temperature must be maintained at 37.5 degrees Celsius. Increase or decrease in temperature alters the metabolic activities of the cells. The skin, respiratory system, digestive system, excretory system, skeletal muscles, and nervous systems are involved in maintaining the temperature within normal limits. Number 3. Adequate amount of nutrients must be supplied to the cells. Nutrients are essential for various activities of the cell and growth of the tissues. These substances also form the source of energy required for various activities of the cells. Nutrients must be digested, absorbed into the blood, and supplied to the cells. Digestive system and circulatory system play major role in the supply of nutrients. Number 4. Adequate amount of oxygen should be made available to the cells for the metabolism of the nutrients. Simultaneously, the carbon dioxide and other metabolic end products must be removed. Respiratory system is concerned with the supply of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide. Kidneys and other excretory organs are involved in the excretion of waste products. Number 5. Many hormones are essential for the metabolism of nutrients and other substances necessary for the cells. Hormones are to be synthesized and released from the endocrine glands in appropriate quantities, and these hormones must act on the body cells appropriately. Otherwise, it leads to abnormal signs and symptoms. Number 6. Water and electrolyte balance should be maintained optimally. Otherwise, it leads to dehydration or even water toxicity and alteration in the osmolarity of body fluids. Kidneys, skin, salivary glands, and gastrointestinal tract take care of this. Number 7. For all these functions, the blood, which forms the major part of internal environment, must be normal. It should contain required number of normal red blood cells and adequate amount of plasma with normal composition. Only then it can transport the nutritive substances, respiratory gases, metabolic and other waste products. Number 8. Skeletal muscles are also involved in homeostasis. This system helps the organism to move around in search of food. It also helps to protect the organism from adverse surroundings, thus preventing damage or destruction. 9. Central nervous system, which includes brain and spinal cord, also plays an important role in homeostasis. Sensory system detects the state of the body or surroundings. Brain integrates and interprets the pros and cons of this information and commands the body to act accordingly through motor systems so that the body can avoid the damage. Number 10. Autonomic nervous system regulates all the vegetative function of the body essential for homeostasis. Now let's see the components of homeostatic system. Homeostatic system in the body acts through self-regulating devices which operate in a cyclic manner. The cyclic manner means it includes mainly 4 components. Number 1 is the sensors or detectors which recognize the deviation. Number 2 is the transmission of this message to a control center. Number 3, transmission of information from the control center to the effectors for correcting the deviation. Transmission of message or information may be electrical process in the form of impulses through the nerves or a chemical process mainly in the form of hormones through blood and body fluids. Number 4 are the effectors which correct the deviation. So to learn it more easily, let's learn this flowchart. So when a deviation is caused to a normal condition, the sensors will recognize it and will transfer the information to the control center. And by the commanding of the control center through effectors, it gives the correction where the normal stable condition or homeostasis is achieved. Mechanism of action of homeostatic system. Homeostatic mechanism in the body is responsible for maintaining the normalcy of various body systems. Whenever there is change in behavioral pattern of any system, the effectors bring back the normalcy either by inhibiting and reversing the change or by supporting and accelerating the change depending upon requirement of the situation. This is achieved by means of feedback signals. So there is 2 feedback mechanisms. The one is negative feedback mechanism. Number 2 is the positive feedback mechanism. Now let's go deeper to it. Negative feedback mechanism. In negative feedback, this is the one which the system acts in such a way as to arrest the change or reverse the direction of change. After receiving a message, effectors send negative feedback signals back to the system. Now, the system stabilizes its own function and makes an attempt to maintain homeostasis. For example, thyroid stimulating hormone released from pituitary gland stimulates thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine hormone. When thyroxine level increases in blood, it inhibits the secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone from pituitary so that the secretion of thyroxine from thyroid gland decreases. On the other hand, if thyroxine secretion is less, its low blood level induces pituitary gland to release thyroid stimulating hormone. Now, thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine. Another example for negative feedback mechanism is maintenance of water balance in the body. So let's check this flowchart to learn it easily. So here is the normal level of thyroxine. In normal condition, there is no deviation, so the thyroxine level is normal in the blood. Suppose there is an increase in the secretion of thyroxine. This causes the inhibition of thyroid stimulating hormone secretion, which results in the decreased secretion of thyroxine. Thus, the normal level of thyroxine is attained. Otherwise, if the secretion of thyroxine is decreased, there takes place the stimulation of thyroid secreting hormone, which cause increased secretion of thyroxine, and also we will attain the normal level of thyroxine thereby, and homeostasis is achieved. Positive feedback mechanism. Positive feedback is the one to which the system reacts in such a way as to increase the intensity of the change in the same direction. Positive feedback is less common than the negative feedback. However, it has its own significance, particularly during emergency conditions. One of the positive feedbacks occurs during the blood clotting. Blood clotting is necessary to arrest bleeding during injury, and it occurs in 3 stages. The 3 stages are formation of prothrombin activator. Number 2 is the conversion of prothrombin into thrombin. Number 3 is the conversion of fibrinogen into fibrin. Now, in order to understand, let's check this flowchart. Before that, thrombin formed in the second stage stimulates the formation of more prothrombin activator in addition to converting fibrinogen into fibrin. It causes formation of more and more amount of prothrombin activator so that the blood clotting process is accelerated and blood loss is prevented quickly. Other processes where positive feedback occurs are milk ejection reflex and parturition, and both the process involve oxytocin hormone secretion. So here we can observe the flow chart. Suppose there is an injury in the blood vessel and bleeding occurs, which stimulates the formation of prothrombin activator. This causes the conversion of prothrombin into thrombin. With the positive feedback mechanism, there is more amount of prothrombin activator formed. And when this cycle enhances, it causes the more amount of fibrinogen to be converted to fibrin. And this causes the stoppage of bleeding. That's the relevance of positive feedback mechanism in this case. Now, as I told, for positive feedback mechanism also occurs in milk ejection reflex and parturition. Let's check another example of parturition. So here, as you can see, suppose there is an onset of labor, and due to the positive feedback mechanism, the contraction of uterus takes place. When the contraction of uterus takes place, there will be movement of the fetus into the cervix. And when the fetus is moved towards the cervix, dilation of cervix takes place. And when the cervix is more dilated, the fetus tends to move through the cervix. And when this happens, there takes place the stimulation of receptors in the cervix, which discharge the impulses from the receptors. And transmission of these impulses to the hypothalamus takes place. And when the hypothalamus gets stimulated, there occurs the release of oxytocin from hypothalamus. and this oxytocin causes more contraction of the uterus, and hence the positive feedback mechanism takes place. When more amount of oxytocin hormone is released from the hypothalamus, it causes contraction of uterus more vigorous, and thus it helps and induces parturition or labor takes place. Hope you have understood the video. Like, subscribe and press the bell button for more videos. Thank you. Thanks for watching.